It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast on another weekend that is dropped. Yes, it's real estate all the way with our non-stop breakdown of suburb by suburb across Australia. We've got the trends and the predictions every morning for your local market, wherever that might be. And it's a Saturday morning, July the 26th. And coming up, we're going to take you to Dubai, the location where a lot of Aussies are moving to. And there is a lot at the moment going on in the UAE. We've also got a listener question coming up about the Dubai property market. And I'll also give you a breakdown on some of the areas across the UAE and Dubai and where their price point is. And if you've got a question, don't forget you can email that through myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Righto, let's catch up with Mario Volpe, our real estate guru of Dubai, 40 years of experience. And where are you coming to us from this morning? I know that you were in Italy last week, but I think you're in London this morning.
Yes, good morning, Craig. I'm in very grey London at the moment as it's just waking up. So I've just taken a bit of a break and I'm back next week.
At least it's not winter. If you go into London, during winter, that's got to be really difficult coming out of Dubai.
Yeah, for sure, because the weather in Dubai around December time, let's say, or winter, is absolutely glorious, whereas it's very, very cold and grey and potentially miserably wet as well in London then. But no, the weather's good, so all good over here.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was just listening to Bill Maher with John Cleese a couple of days ago on Club Random, and he was saying that he pretty much makes sure that he is in the US because exactly what you said, miserable, and he's 85 these days, John Cleese, but boy, is his brain as sharp as ever. Very, very sharp at 85 years of age. A 2-hour conversation about everything with Bill Maher the other day. And you were telling me you have never listened to Club Random.
No, I haven't. But actually, John Cleese has come to Dubai. He's come to the Dubai Opera. They've done these shows where I don't know whether he takes questions from the audience, but definitely it's like 2 hours of just him talking about his life and what he's done with Monty Python. I mean, the guy's an absolute genius, and you're right. Even at his ripe old age, he's still as sharp as a tack.
Now, would you find this sort of odd if I was to say to you that John Cleese does not own a property? In fact, he was saying, I'm not sure how old the podcast is, it might be a year old or so, but he was saying for the last 25 weeks he's been living in a hotel.
I'm sure he does own a property.
No,
well,
he doesn't.
In England, he doesn't. So where does he live in England then?
Well, he tries to spend as much time as possible in the US. Yeah, he was saying he doesn't own property and went on to say that, and he's got the breakdown on how much money Monty Python basically didn't make a lot of money from it.
I'm very surprised. Well, but his manager basically hasn't sorted him out because for all the years Monty Python has kind of been around. Maybe for the Gen Zs, people don't know what we're talking about, but for sure, yeah. It's a very popular show, or at least it was. The humour probably has lost its way a little bit over the years. I'm very surprised that it hasn't made the money. And then what about all the spin-off movies, Life of Brian and all things like that?
Yeah, well, this is what happens. You see, you've got to have the right contract. You might want to check that out. It is Bill Maher with Club Random and put John Cleese. You'll enjoy that one for sure. Now, good morning to Morton. Thank you for your email and the kind words that you had about the podcast. Now, you say that you've been living in Dubai for some years. You're now living in Denmark. You want to come back to Dubai 3 or 4 times a year, and you're looking to buy an apartment which is going to serve you as your home when you're there, looking to rent it out on a short-term basis for the rest of the time it's not being used. Pretty smart, Morton. A lot of people doing that, of course. You really like the marina in JBR, but you're strongly considering to buy an apartment in Dubai Creek Harbour, as it seems like this area you say has a lot of potential. So you're stuck between investing with your heart and going for the marina or JBR, or investing more strategically in Creek Harbour. Your question is, do you think Creek Harbour has a lot more potential compared to the marina in terms of capitalisation over the next 5 years? And also, which area do you think is performing best in terms of short-term rental? So we'll get to that in just a moment. And you say that you're listening to us from Bali, where you're on vacation with the family. Thank you for that very comprehensive question. Because it is so comprehensive, I better throw that over to you, Mario.
Yeah, this was a great question from Morton, and one that actually got me thinking. So look, in terms of today, I think Dubai Marina and JBR will offer the better short-term rental yield, purely because of the proximity to the seaside and the beach. But to counterbalance this argument, I think the Creek could also offer a good short-term rental too. Not just quite as good as the established marina and JBR area. When it comes to long-term potential growth, this is where I think the Creek will start to overtake the marina, in my opinion. I think this will be due to the amount of further infrastructure growth in terms of future buildings, the completions of the whole area, and not forgetting the Creek Tower, potentially the tallest tower in the world, or at least it will be once we know exactly what's going on there. I think if we were to add the two questions together, I believe Creek Harbour would be Morton's best bet, as he will get a decent short-term rental income stream now, but the future growth potential will be greater in that location in years to come.
Now, if you're looking for a cheap buy and you want to get into the Dubai market, a couple of things just to think about here. A one-bedroom apartment in Al Wassan 4 or Dubai Investment Park, they're priced at around 450,000 dirhams, spanning about 590 square feet. And they come furnished with a one bedroom. That is a pretty solid entry. What do you think about those two areas there, Mario, in terms of a couple of cheapies throwing up this morning?
Yeah, two different areas. Al Wassan is actually down by sort of International City area, where Dragon Mart is, which is a sort of a Chinese-themed mall, very popular with the Omanis. So that's always been a very low entry level. But you do get some good rental yields down there, and the metro is coming. So that area is one to look out for. And Dubai Investment Park, mixed use, completely the other end of town, not far from Jebel Ali. Again, low entry point because of its mixed use. That one also, I think, an area to look out for because it's sort of north of Dubai South.
And if you want to go a little bit cheaper and go to Sharjah, there is a couple of one-bedders available for around 400,000 dirhams in areas like Al Majaz 2 and Mawale. Generally 1 to 2 bedrooms and ranging between that 650 to 720 square feet. Those areas, do you want to weigh in on those?
Yeah, we've talked about sort of Al Majaz areas before when we were doing these sort of lower end prices and what you could find. The only issue with that is that if you work in Dubai, it's great to live in Sharjah, but you've got to travel into Dubai. So the traffic can be a bit of a problem.
So that's something for you to weigh up. Now, Emirates Airline being named the world's most recommended brand speaks volumes, but what does this kind of global recognition say about the brand of Dubai overall, and how does it influence the way people perceive the city as a place to live, invest, and do business in, Mario?
Yeah, I mean, Emirates Airline is the epitome to the actual brand, I guess, of Dubai. And it's incredible to think that Emirates is up there, but then so is Etihad. Etihad is the airline of Abu Dhabi, and literally just being down the road, I'm actually very surprised that they both coexist so successfully. There was talk years and years ago of those two merging, and maybe one day it might, but, you know, Abu Dhabi's got a great airport. Dubai has a very good one, which soon they're going to move to the Al Maktoum. So they both can actually survive in this very competitive pool. But what you're referring to is a YouGov survey that is based on its 29 million members in more than 55 countries. So Emirates came out on top with Toyota second, we're talking brands here, and Levi's, the jeans, in third. This is the second straight year that Emirates has won the award, and no other Middle East brand featured in the top 10, which also included famous brands such as Adidas, Nike, Mercedes, BMW, and Nintendo. The survey was conducted between the 1st of June last year and the 31st of May this year. And interestingly, in the UK, where I'm at the moment, Emirates came third most popular brand, behind names such as Prada and Gucci, whilst in Australia, Emirates was sixth, where Rolex topped the list. So we know what the Australians like.
Now, I wonder where British Airways would come into that. I mean, if they're coming third to those huge brands, British Airways, they'd be sort of a long way down the list, wouldn't they?
A long way down. I travelled from Rome to London on British Airways, the first time in a long time. My father used to work for British Airways, and honestly, it's nothing like Emirates at all. At all, no.
All right. Now, we often focus on rising rental prices and climbing sales value, which we've been talking about in the first half of this discussion. But what really gets discussed is the cost-benefit angle, specifically where it actually makes more financial sense to rent rather than buy. And I know that you've been drilling into this a little bit.
This is a survey by Bloom Holdings. They researched, and there are 8 locations where tenants would actually be better off rather than homeowners in the whole of the Emirates. Top of the list is Al Marjan Island. That's in Ras Al Khaimah, where the median monthly mortgage payments at the moment stands at 18,782 dirhams. That's almost 3 times that of the median monthly rent amount of 6,667. But similar trends were also seen in Al Barsha in Dubai and Al Mera in Ajman, where the rent to mortgage gap is around 60%. Next would be Saadiyat Island back in Abu Dhabi again. Tenants here pay approximately 60% less than homeowners. Sharjah is next in Muwaile, then Expo City in Dubai, Al Hamra back in Ras Al Khaimah, and Al Rashidiyah in Ajman close off that list. So in all of these areas, it actually would make more economical sense to rent rather than buy. What about the other way around, I hear you say? Well, there are 3 communities in Abu Dhabi, Al Reef and Al Raha Beach, where it's just under 38% cheaper to buy rather than rent. And then Khalifa City, where it's nearly 20% cheaper to buy rather than rent. In Dubai, there are 2 communities that actually stand out. One is Culture Village in Al Jadaf and JVT, both around the 31% mark. In Sharjah, it's Tilal City, where it's 12% cheaper to buy rather than rent. And lastly, Al Sawan in Ajman, where it's just over 10% cheaper. So you can see that if you do your research, depending on where you are in the Emirates, it's going to be better for you to either rent rather than buy or buy rather than rent.
All right, Mario. Well, that's a good sort of an update for our listeners in Australia. Enjoy London. Have a safe flight back to Dubai. And as always, thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast.
That's a pleasure as always, Craig, and happy week to all the listeners.
From the emotion of property, the economic inflation, managing your expectations, lack of stock, price growth, construction appetite, days on the market. Stay informed with us and know your property. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.